Hello, Gentle Explainer here. Today I am going to gently explain a family fantasy movie called The Seeker. Today's story is about a boy who considered his life to be quite ordinary, but one day he discovers that he is no ordinary boy, but a warrior chosen to save the world from dark forces. Now he must find 6 mysterious signs before time runs out. Otherwise, darkness will engulf everything, but he faces a force that wants to obtain them at any cost. Will he be able to recognize his powers and defeat the darkness? We'll see that in today's story. At the beginning of the story, we are shown a school where children are happily returning home from school on Christmas break. There, we see a boy named Will, whose eyes fall on a beautiful girl. She was smiling at him, but then his younger sister Gwen arrives, and the girl walks ahead. Afterward, as the 2 siblings board the bus, Will sees the same girl, Maggie. Again, she smiles and looks at him, which Will also finds appealing. Just then, his older brother Robin teases him, saying, "She's so beautiful. You should go and talk to her." Will is lost in thought when the girl gets off the bus, and her scarf falls off. Will wants to pick it up and give it to her, but the bus leaves before he can. Then, as Will walks home with his siblings, we see 2 strangers watching Will from a distance. Will belongs to the Stanton family and is the youngest of 5 brothers. On the way, they meet Miss Graythorne, who gives them an invitation to a Christmas party at her mansion, and their driver, Lion, gives Will the letter. Upon arriving home, everyone sees that their older brother Max has returned from college. Everyone is delighted. He tells them he'll be staying in Will's room until Christmas break. Will is a little disappointed to hear this. Now, he's forced to sleep in the upstairs storage room. The next day, the same 2 strangers, George and Dawson, bring a Christmas tree to Will's house. Originally, they were asked to bring the tree by Will's mother, Mary, but here, they call Will by his name and wish him a Merry Christmas and a Happy Birthday. Will wonders, how do they know my name and birthday? But looking at them, it seems as if they have a long-standing relationship with Will. Mary asks them out for coffee, but they refuse, saying, "A big storm is coming at night, so we have to leave." But when we look outside, the weather is perfectly clear. Gwen then gives her brother Will a Christmas watch as a birthday gift and asks, "What's your wish for Christmas this time?" Will replies, "Just that it snows tonight." A little while later, Will's oldest brother, Stephen, video calls to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. He sent gifts for everyone, but he couldn't make it. When Will opens his gift, he finds an old, strange belt inside. It makes Will a little disappointed, as if it wasn't meant for him. Then, at night, while he's sleeping, it starts snowing outside, which makes him very happy because he had made such a wish. The next day, Will goes to the mall to buy a gift for his sister and finds a beautiful showcase stone. But as he's leaving, 2 security guards stop him and say they suspect he's stolen something. He denies it, but they coax him into an interrogation room. Something feels off to Will, and they start asking him strange questions. Just then, the lights start blinking, and the atmosphere becomes terrifying. Then, suddenly, the 2 guards' faces change into scary creatures, and in the next moment, one of them claws Will. Will manages to escape, but the guards chase him, and suddenly, he transforms into a multitude of crosses. But Will somehow manages to escape. When he comes home and checks himself in the mirror, he sees claw marks on his neck. He tries to tell his dad about this strange incident, but he can't finish because everyone is getting ready to go to the party. Now, the entire family arrives at Miss Graythorne's mansion for a Christmas party. There, Will meets George and Dawson again, and then, after a while, sees the beautiful girl, Maggie. But then, his brother James starts talking to her, which annoys Will, and he storms out in anger. Just then, a strange man on a horse starts chasing him. Seeing him, Will tries to run away in fear, but he quickly catches up with him. Frightened, Will asks about him. The man introduces himself as the rider and demands a sign. Will is at a loss as to what the rider is talking about. Just then, Miss Graythorne, Lion, George, and Dawson arrive, and as soon as they arrive, the rider leaves. Will is now filled with questions about what is going on. The 4 of them take Will with them to a mysterious place beyond present time that they call the Great Hall, and it is here that Will is supposed to find answers to all his questions. Lion tells him that a rider cannot come here unless one of us calls him. We are all old ones, and you are a seeker, chosen to fulfill a special task. Then Graythorne shows him an old book and explains that only a seeker can read it, which holds many secrets. Centuries ago, a war took place between the light and dark worlds. The light won, but the darkness was not completely eradicated. However, 6 signs were created to save humanity, and only one seeker is responsible for finding them. Will doesn't understand anything, so he explains that a seeker is the 7th son of a 7th child. That means your father had 7 children, and you are his 7th son, so you are a seeker lion. Then gives him a crystal and warns that if the rider isn't stopped within 5 days, darkness will fall upon the entire world. Then Will sees a boy just like him inside him, and he sees his entire world in danger. The next moment, he transitions back to the present. But as soon as he reaches home, his brothers start teasing him, and in anger, he pushes one of them away, sending both of them tumbling away. He himself begins to believe that he possesses some superpower he can't understand. A Google search brings up numerous results, which he discusses with his dad, but he dismisses it as a scientific theory. Then, one night, Will slips and falls, spraining his leg. His mother then calls a doctor home, but the doctor turns out to be none other than Ryder. During treatment, Ryder threatens him, demanding he give him the sign. Will replies, "I don't have anything like that." During this time, Will's leg heals as soon as Ryder touches it, but to torment him, Ryder restores his injured leg and then threatens him one last time before leaving. Will, now at a loss, understands why Ryder is after the sign and what it is. He goes into the storage room and looks through old childhood photos. He stumbles upon a photo of another child just like him. When he asks his mother about it, she sadly says, "That's your twin brother Tom, but someone took him away right after birth. We searched for him for months, but never found him." After hearing all this, Will realizes that the old ones were right. He is a seeker, the 7th son of a 7th child. Now he has a sense of his powers. But the next day, while Will is on his way, everything around him suddenly changes. In an instant, he returns to the same mysterious place, the Great Hall, and surprisingly, even his sock has disappeared for some reason. There, he finds all the old ones waiting for him. He then begins reading the same old book, which only a seeker can read. It tells of 6 signs. 5 of them are made of stone, copper, iron, wood, and water, and the last sign is made of spirit. When these are combined, all dark forces will be destroyed forever. He stumbles upon the gift he bought for Gwen, and as he breaks it, a stone sign emerges from within. He is now completely convinced that he is the seeker who must find and collect all the remaining signs. He then returns home and puts the sign on the same old belt his older brother gave him. The next day, Will is praying with everyone in church, where his parents and the other old ones are also present. Suddenly, everyone disappears, leaving only Will and the other old ones in the same church. Having traveled through time, now they have arrived in the 14th century. Suddenly, an old woman appears, transforming into a multitude of snakes and attacking them. The snakes surround them, and all the old ones, except Will, are captured. During this time, Will bravely reaches the church basement. There, he finds a skeleton holding a second copper sign inside its mouth. Just then, a snake attacks him, but he somehow manages to escape. As soon as he picks up the sign, the next moment he's transported back to the present day, where everyone is still praying. Now, Will has 2 signs. On the other side, we see Ryder talking to someone who tells him that the boy has also received the second sign. Now it's time to do your job properly, otherwise, he will become more powerful. Meanwhile, James brings Maggie to Will's house. Maggie, perhaps recognizing Will for who he really is, approaches Will and uses her magic to create a glowing light in front of him. Will asks, "Are you one of the old ones too?" Maggie says, "No, Will, I'm just like you." Will then returns her scarf to her and tries to tell her that he likes her. Just then, James arrives to take Maggie away, and as he leaves, he makes fun of Will, which angers Will. Then, in a fit of rage, he quietly goes outside and, as he expresses his anger alone, inadvertently uses his powers, setting trees, plants, and even a car on fire. His younger sister Gwen witnesses this and comes to him. Suddenly, they travel back in time and arrive at an ancient battlefield. There, many people are fighting each other, and now they too could be attacked at any moment. Then, Will spots a shield in the hands of a warrior and realizes that this is the next sign he must obtain. Just then, another warrior is about to leave the boat with the shield, but Will manages to sneak in and pick it up. But just then, the warrior catches sight of him and is about to kill Will. At that moment, Will's watch makes a sound, and the warrior finds it strange. Will cleverly trades his watch for the shield, and after obtaining the third sign, he returns to the present day with his sister. He then convinces his sister not to tell anyone about this. Meanwhile, we see Ryder talking to the same man. He tells him that the boy has also obtained the third sign. Go and bring it to me. Then, a severe snowfall begins in the city, causing great damage to the people. Meanwhile, Will and his brother Max are returning home. On the way, Max's behavior suddenly changes, and he starts talking strangely, saying, "I want your sign." In reality, Ryder has possessed Max. When Will refuses, he begins to force it. At that very moment, they both suddenly time travel to the 16th century, where some people are watching a cockfight. Will realizes that this is where he will find the fourth sign, but Max starts fighting him. So Will manages to escape and goes inside, where he sees the sign. But before he can take the sign, Max comes back and starts fighting with him, trying to kill him. Will is forced to punch his brother, knocking him away. Then, seizing the opportunity, he quickly goes and retrieves the fourth sign, which was attached to a stone statue of a rooster. Meanwhile, Ryder's spell is broken, and Max returns to normal. Now Will has 4 signs, and he returns with his brother. Meanwhile, Ryder approaches Dawson and George, threatening them that they can't achieve their goal while he's around, and then attacks them with a spell. A terrible storm then erupts in the city, and the strong winds cause even more devastation than before. All the Stanton family members retreat to Miss Graythorne's mansion for safety. There, Lion explains to Will that the next day will likely be more dangerous, because Ryder has already attacked 2 of their old ones. Meanwhile, Ryder fears that if Will finds the remaining signs, the dark forces will be destroyed forever. So he visits the mysterious man again and tells him to fulfill his promise and bring the signs to him. Then he will grant him the power to remain young forever. The man reveals his face to Ryder, and we see that he is none other than Maggie in disguise. Maggie is actually a witch who was kept young by Ryder's magic and has been working for him all along. Ryder then uses his magic to attack Miss Graythorne's mansion and attempts to kill everyone, including Will. Everyone panics and tries to escape. He then tries to kill everyone at once by using the water bond. Meanwhile, Will meets Maggie, who takes him upstairs. There, she lovingly says, "I've found the remaining 2 signs. So, give me all 4 of your signs quickly. Once you find them, our powers will unite." Will is about to give in, but then he spots the 5th sign on the glass dome of the mansion. Will understands everything and breaks the glass without delay, but the sign falls into the water. But Will catches it before it can be lost. Now the 5th sign has also reached Will, causing the Ryder's magic to slowly fade. But then Maggie, in her true form, tries to snatch the sign from Will, but Will throws it into the water, and it disappears forever. Now, Will and all the others are saved, but in the next moment, Will and all the old ones are back in the Great Hall. They had already understood that the last sign was to be found there. However, Ryder uses his demonic powers to reach outside the Great Hall, but he cannot enter without one of the old ones granting permission. So, in Will's mother's voice, he calls for the door to be opened. Will, sensing that his mother is in trouble, opens the door. As soon as he opens the door, Ryder enters, and the power of darkness spreads throughout the Great Hall. All the old ones are caught in his whirlwind of magic, and he frightens Will into giving him the sign. When Will refuses, Ryder reveals a magical ball holding his twin brother, Tom, captive. Ryder explains that he took him away 14 years ago, thinking he was the Seeker, but now the time has come for his end. He then throws the magic ball into the deep well of the Great Hall, and Will is unable to catch it. He then attacks Will and traps him in a magical whirlwind. Will is pulled into the whirlwind, and then realizes that the last sign is not an object, but himself. Upon realizing this, all the signs combine to bring all the powers of light within him. Using his powers, he emerges from the whirlwind and appears before the Ryder. The Ryder realizes that Will has combined all his powers. He falls from his horse and, in fear, uses his dark powers one last time, but Will stops all his powers, traps him in the magic ball within moments, and then, without delay, buries him forever in the deep well of the Great Hall. Now, as the darkness ends, all the old ones are freed, and they are all overjoyed that light has finally triumphed. Just then, Miss Graythorne brings Will's brother, Tom, who has now emerged from the magic ball. The two brothers are overjoyed to see each other, as this is their first time since birth. After bidding farewell to the old ones, Will returns with his brother. Will's parents are overjoyed to see their lost son. Will and Tom reunite with their siblings, and the story ends on a happy note. I hope you liked this movie explain video. If you want to see more similar movie explain videos, then you can watch this video by clicking here. Now I go and see you in the next video.